Hi, this is Helen from Three Winks Design. I wanted to talk to you today about a project that I'm going to start doing, and it's going to be about building your pantry on a limited budget. I'm inspired by Rebecca from Dollar Tree Dinners. She does dinners that she builds from food that you can buy at Dollar Tree, and she helps people that are maybe in a food desert who have very few places to shop or who have a very limited budget. She's also done some meals from Dollar General and from Walmart for people that have very limited budgets. Her premise is to start that the only thing she has in her kitchen to work with is salt and pepper and oil. And so everything she's getting has to fit, you can't add anything else. So that made me start to think about how there are people that don't really know how to build a pantry on a budget so that you have things to fall back on so that your food will last longer. Even if you live in a place where there aren't very many good places to shop, most people in that situation will take a trip, maybe an hour or more away, to go to a regular large grocery store to get their main food for their budget for their pantries, and they still want to fit it into a budget, but they can do a little better than just only buying at a place like Dollar Tree. I've never shopped for groceries at Dollar Tree before, so I decided that I was going to first of all start with a little test to see what I could do if I had a $100 budget, to see if I could start, do meals by shopping at Dollar Tree and then supplementing from my regular grocery store, um, comparing the prices and see what I could come up with. That's the first part of this test or this project that I'm going to do. The second part is to start showing you tips and ideas that I've learned over the years of raising six children on a limited budget, um, and how I could save money, start a healthy and nutritious food storage pantry that would help us even when we're tight on money. We'd still have food in our pantry to use. You don't want to have to start from scratch every time you're going to cook a meal. So let's get started. Now, here's your assignment for when you get started shopping. First of all, before you make a list, go through your kitchen and your pantry and your freezer and your refrigerator and see what you already have on hand. Make a list. What canned goods do I have? What protein do I have? What, refrigerated items do I have? Do I have spices? Do I have condiments? What do I have that I can purchase things to add to those things and make some creative meals? Don't always repurchase things because you forgot you had them. Save money by planning around what you have and what you can see in the ads. You got to check the ads, compare prices, and see what you can get that would stay within your budget. You need to be creative. Think in advance about some creative and delicious and nutritious meals you can make with very few ingredients in order to stay on budget. And so that's your assignment. Also, check the coupons. All stores usually have online coupons that you can get on and click and make sure that those are in effect when you go shopping. And if you're like me, a senior citizen, 55 and over, there are often perks for senior citizens at grocery stores. At my store, the first Wednesday of every month, I can get a 10% discount off of my grocery bill. So you go in, you tell the store, hey, I'm this old, really, and you show them your ID, and they'll attach that information to your card. And when you go in on that first Wednesday of the month, everything you buy will be an additional 10% off, even if it's already on sale. So that's a really good deal. So make sure you take of those things, do that inventory, then make your list, check those coupons. Let's get started. The first thing I did was look at Dollar Tree's online app that they have, and look at some of the things that they carry food wise. I was surprised at how many name brands that they have. I thought of Dollar Tree as kind of carrying off brands that I'd never heard of before, smaller sizes, which can be true in some cases. So you do need to check sizes and quantities and compare those with the regular grocery store to see which would be the better buy. They did have some good buys there. I was surprised to see that. So it was very interesting to me. I started out by making a list of what I thought I would like to buy. When I got to the store in person, I found other things that I didn't see online. And I also saw things that I decided not to get. Dollar Tree does carry some things now that are over $1.25. there are a few things that are under $1.25 as well. So I had to make some interesting decisions, and I ended up spending more at Dollar Tree than I've ever spent before buying groceries there. So I'm going to show you what I bought first. Um, this is my list, and I spent $48.75 at Dollar Tree, and I'll show you what I bought so you can see, and I'll explain why I bought it. Later on, now that I've been starting to prepare meals with that food, I've I've got a little more knowledge and education about what's there, and I'll tell you how I would have changed my list now um, that I've had this experience already. So this is my Dollar Tree haul. I uh, got some seasoned butter beans, which I've never had seen before. But one of the things I did do was look at reviews on the food too, if I hadn't heard of that brand, and they had really good reviews. And so I decided to give those a try. They're kind of like a white bean, butter beans. And so I thought there might be some meals that I could prepare with that. Also, these baked beans, brown sugar baked beans called by Yellowstone, also had good reviews. Back here, I got this loaf of luncheon meat, kind of like Spam, it says. It's actually made in, like, I think it said Denmark. Yeah, it's a product of Denmark. They said it's very similar to Spam. It had very high reviews. So at $1.25, I thought it was worth getting it to give it a try because, you know, it could be used for dinner or for breakfast or lunch. And so I got a couple cans of that. I got this Brunswick white albacore tuna. Everyone knows albacore tuna is the best. And so that at $1.25 seemed like a really good buy. Now, you know, Dollar Tree has some things that are over $1.25 now. And that one of those is these fish sticks that are $1. I mean, they're $5, but there's 18 sticks in the box. And I thought, well, that's good because it was much more expensive for that size at my Kroger store. And I thought that would be, I like to make fish tacos and stuff, so that would be a good thing to get. They have Campbell's Kitchen Classic Soups, loaded potato soup, which I thought might be really good with that Spam product in it. Beef and barley soup, which already has some protein in it, so that's handy. They had these home-style meatballs. I believe they are $4 at Dollar Tree. So that sounds really good. And some tomato soup. So, you know, tomato soup with some grilled cheese. That sounds great right now when it's the winter time. And also a can of diced tomatoes, Del Monte Harvest diced tomatoes. Oh, they also carry Suddenly salad. I got 2 boxes of it because it says one box, I think, serves 2 or 3. Yeah, 2 servings or something. And so I got 2, and we can add some things to that. The one thing I like about Suddenly salad is it has vegetables like peas and carrots in it. So that gives you a little more vegetables in your food. They had some tortillas for $1.25, which I can use for my fish tacos. They have Knorr pasta side dishes. They have chicken flavor, and they have Alfredo. Now, I didn't realize till I got home, I forgot to read on these, that they consider one packet a serving size. I don't know. That seems like a lot to me for one person. But maybe I can do something with the 2 of them to make it worth a whole dinner. We'll see what happens. I also got some broccoli here, frozen broccoli, which is great. Their fruits are $1.50 a can. I got some sliced peaches, 2 cans of them, some pineapple tidbits, some mandarin oranges. Up here, this bag of old-fashioned oats, oatmeal, has 20 servings in it for $1.25, so you can't really beat that for the price. I also got some dessert items. I got some Cook and Serve lemon jello, which not jello, pudding. It's Cook and Serve pudding, sorry. Anyway, it's Cook and Serve pudding, and Cook and Serve is my favorite pudding when you buy a box of pudding because I just think it tastes a lot better than instant. So I got the Cook and Serve, and I also got lemon cake mix, and I got a white cake mix and a strawberry cake mix, I guess, and I got a yellow cake mix because I have plans for those, and I have a fudge brownie mix, $1.25 for all those things, for each of those things. So, of course, you could cut back on your budget. You don't need to buy that many cake mixes. I just think when you have a big family, there's always somebody's birthday coming along. So I wanted those to be in my pantry ready to go in case I needed them. And there's always nice to make a treat for the kids. And so for $1.25, you can't beat that. Okay, so that was a pretty good haul from Dollar Tree, but there are some things that you can't get at Dollar Tree, produce being one of them, and I really believe that you need to have fresh produce. You can grow it, which I do grow a lot of produce at my house, but if you're not gardening yet, I hope to convert you to doing that. No matter what kind of circumstance you live in, as far as an apartment or a house or anything, there's something you can grow. And we'll talk about that in another video. But if you don't have a way to get that right now, you can go to the regular grocery store and get produce. Produce does not have to be really expensive. I've always heard it said that if you want to save on your grocery bill, stay around the outer edges of the store, buying fresh things and not all the processed packaged goods. And buying produce can be very inexpensive, inexpensive thing to do, and it adds so much nutrition and so much um, joy to your food to have good fresh produce when you cook. And like I said, it doesn't have to be really expensive. So there are certain things that you need to get at the regular grocery store that they don't carry at Dollar Tree, and or else they're more expensive at Dollar Tree than you can get them at the regular grocery store. So certain things would be every pantry should have flour and sugar. You might think, oh no, we don't need sugar, but you'd be surprised how a little bit of sugar can go a long way. And so that's what I focused on this time when I went shopping, was to get the flour and sugar into my staples in my kitchen. Those are staples that you really need to have. Other things that I'm going to budget for will be rice, um, some condiments, uh, things like baking soda and baking powder. We'll see how it goes this time. I know I only have that $100 budget. So let me show you what I bought at Fry's, my Kroger store that I shop at here. And then we'll talk about that some more. Okay, here's my Fry's haul. I spent $39.31, so about $40. I spent over like $88 or something like that. So, or 86. Anyway, I'll do the math. So I got a loaf of bread. Now, I thought that I'll get one loaf of bread because of course you always need bread. But I also got flour. So I can make bread. I can make things like biscuits. I got corn muffin mix. It's only 64 cents right now for corn muffin mix at Fry's, whereas it was like I think 70 something cents a box at Dollar Tree. So I got it at Fry's for 64 cents. Um, and I got eggs, a dozen eggs, because, that could be breakfast, that could be when you're baking. So eggs are always important to have. And they were on sale for $1.79 today at Fry's with a coupon. So that was a good deal. Cheese. I wasn't going to get this much cheese because cheese can be costly, but it's also really great. You like to have cheese for dinner, and I got three kinds. And the reason I got three packages of cheese is because today, if you bought three packages, it was $6 for three packages. And I thought, oh, that's a good deal. I'm not going to pass that up. That's $2 for a package of cheese. And so, but you had to buy three to get them for $2 a package. And cheese is something you can always use. And so if I don't need to use it all this week, I can use it later, and because it lasts quite a while when it's still in the package. And I bought 1 pound of butter because you got to have butter. I like real butter too, so you can get cheaper margarine if you like to, but I prefer to get the real kind. Um, Sugar. Now this 10-pound bag of sugar was only $6.99 for 10 pounds. That's a really good price for a 10-pound bag of sugar right now. So that, and I got brown sugar and I got powdered sugar. At Dollar Tree, you can get little containers of frosting for cakes and stuff, but I thought I can make my own frosting and use the powdered sugar for other things. And So I decided, to get my own powdered sugar and make my own frosting and stuff. And then I'd have the brown sugar for oatmeal or if I would decided to make some kind of cookies or something, I'd have it. So the powdered sugar and the brown sugar were each $2.59 a bag. They had smaller bags of brown sugar and powdered sugar at Dollar Tree that were $1.25, but I don't even think they were a pound. And so I just felt like this was cheaper to go to um, the regular store for my sugars. Now, the produce 69 cents for a bunch of cilantro, which is going to be great on fish tacos. Bananas are 49 cents a pound. You cannot beat that. A price per pound is for bananas, and those will be great for breakfast, for a snack. An onion, this was 99 cents a pound. I bought one zucchini. The zucchini was $1.09. I think it was $1.49 a pound for zucchini, and I bought one big one, so it came to $1.09. And the tomatoes they were on sale for 99 cents a pound. These Roma tomatoes, and so I bought three of them, and so for three tomatoes, I paid 73 cents. So that was a pretty good buy for some fresh produce to round out our meals. So now let's talk a little bit about that shopping trip to my local Fry's, which is a Kroger store. And I noticed that, by the way, my daughter, who lives across the country from me, shops at a Kroger store. Kroger store. It's called Kroger's, and mine's Fry's. But our ads are always very similar, so you can find the same kind of sales all over the country. I want to talk about again the cheese that I bought. One thing cheese is a really good thing, and I regularly buy cheese and throw it in my freezer, especially the shredded kind of cheese. When you freeze blocks of cheese, it'll become crumbly after you defrost it, but the shredded works really good in the freezer. Those sliced cheeses work pretty well as well. So those sliced cheeses I bought, if I don't use them all up this week, I'll put some in the freezer and then defrost them as I need to use them. So there's a beginning of food that you can have as a fallback, to use later on. The other thing is I focused on flour and sugar this week. I spent total between Dollar Tree and Fry's $88. I had a $100 budget, so that gives me a $12 cushion for things that I might need to go back and get. Because remember, I said you can make your own bread, biscuits, and so forth with the flour, but you almost always need either baking soda or baking powder or yeast. Yeast will be a little bit more expensive than baking soda and baking powder. And there are breads that I'll demonstrate how to make later on in this series that you don't need to use yeast to make a nice sandwich bread. So if you have baking powder or baking soda. So I think with part of that leftover money, I would go back and pick up some baking soda and baking powder. And if you buy the store brands, you can get a really good price on those. Um, and I'd check some other staples that I might wish that I'd gotten. Um, I'm going to give you a list later of things that I would have cut out of my shopping list from Dollar Tree. And so how we can juggle the prices a little bit too. But it's good to, do this experiment, look at it, and then kind of tweak what you might want to do the next time. Once you start getting some staples into your pantry, you don't need to buy them every time. So that's going to save room for other things. And like peanut butter or, pasta, noodles, rice, things like that you might need to have in your pantry. So we'll address that soon. But now we're going to just move on to making our first meal. I'll probably show you things if you don't know how to make something or how I used a product, I'll show that. But if there are some things that I'm just basically following the directions on the back of the package or something, I won't show you the whole thing. But hopefully you'll enjoy this first meal that we make. We really enjoyed it. It was delicious, and that this will be a benefit to you. So let's move on from there. Okay, I thought I would start out by making this Jiffy corn muffin mix to go with our dinner tonight, since that's to bake in the oven. And I'm also going to be baking a dessert in there. So I thought I'd start with the muffins. So it's a bonus. This was supposed to make 6 muffins, but I actually got 8. What I'm wanting to try is this luncheon loaf that's supposed to be like Spam. Here's a funny thing too. To open it, it has this little key that you pull off the top, and then you hook it on this little metal part right here and twist it around. Haven't seen that kind of an opener in a really long time. That top just came off, and you have the Spam coming out right here, or the luncheon meat, whatever you want to call it. It looks like Spam, but slightly different, so we'll find out what it's like. I'm going to make this Campbell's loaded potato soup, and in it I'm going to add this canned luncheon meat product that I got at Dollar Tree. So I have milk melting in the bottom of the pan, and I have diced up this luncheon meat because I want to kind of caramelize it a bit and get it cooking before I add the soup to the pot. So I have this simmering, and now I'm going to start on the dessert while it's simmering and while the corn muffins are getting ready to come out, and then we can see what our whole meal is going to be like all together. On dessert, and so I've opened 2 cans of peaches, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to make it into a peach cobbler. So we need to first of all thicken up the syrup to make it more like a pie filling. So first I'm going to drain the peach juice off of the peaches. I wish that I'd used a little bit bigger measuring cup. I didn't realize that much juice was going to come out. But I have the juice all in this measuring cup, and I put a couple tablespoons of flour, that flour that we got. And I am kind of using a fork to mix it in. I'm going to mix it up though, because this is going to help thicken it. I'm going to pour the peaches themselves. I poured into a saucepan. And after I mix this up pretty well so that it's not going to be lumpy before it starts to heat up. And if you do stuff when it's cold, you can usually mix it in better than if you wait till it's hot. So I'm going to mix this all up. There it's going. And when it's pretty well mixed, I'm going to pour it over the peaches over here. There was the soup still simmering. And then I'm going to turn on this stove burner and start mixing this together. Kind of getting a few more of the lumps out before it gets really hot. But as you cook it and stir it, it'll start developing a syrup around the peaches instead of just like real liquidy juice. It'll be a thicker syrup. And I'll show you that when it's all done. So I'm still stirring this in. I got it pretty well mixed up. And I didn't add any sugar to this because I feel like if it was a white syrup on the peaches, not just plain juice, and so they're already slightly sweet, plus the other ingredients I'm going to be putting on this cobbler are going to be sweet. So I didn't feel like I needed to add any extra sugar. But one thing you could do is add cinnamon if you have it, or you could add vanilla if you have it. I'm not going to do either of those things since I didn't purchase those today, but I do have them in my cupboard, and I was tempted to pour in some cherries that I have left over that I canned, and I still have part of the bottle left. So I'm not going to do that either because I didn't purchase those today. I actually have canned peaches. I never buy peaches because I can them every year, and I have them in my cupboard. But for our purposes for this idea of purchasing food at a good, penny saving price, I decided to buy them today to show you what it could be. But that's one of the things I'm going to talk about later is how you can get produce or grow produce and can it yourself and add to your food storage that way. I decided to throw those cherries in here because remember at the beginning I told you that you should look at what you have in your cupboards already when you get ready to go shopping, and I knew that I had those cherries in there. So this was a good use for them, but you don't have to. You could just use the peaches alone, but whatever you have, because I was just kind of like worried that there wouldn't be quite enough fruit in the cobbler. With 2 jar cans, you might want 3 cans. We'll see what it looks like when I pour it into the pan, but it's starting to thicken up now. So you can see that it's getting a thicker syrup. You could also thicken it with cornstarch, but since we bought flour today, that's what I used. See that the cherries and the peaches got thick, and I've poured them and spread them out over the bottom of my baking dish. Now I'm going to use that yellow cake mix that I bought earlier today. Took the cake mix and I spread it evenly over the top of the fruit. Now I'm going to use a cube of that butter that I bought today and slice it up and dot it over the top of the cake mix, and then add a couple tablespoons of water to the top. And that's all there is to it. You just dot that butter kind of all over, so that butter's going to soak into that. And then you just take the water, little couple tablespoons of water, and you just sprinkle it around kind of where there isn't any butter, because you want it all to get kind of moist and delicious. Then you put it in the oven for about half an hour. Muffins out of the oven, they're looking really good.